Hi everyone, this is Gina at Bibliomation, and I'm here with a quick follow-up video on 3 other features we discovered in more testing of Evergreen version 3.13. If you're watching this currently, then this upgrade will be coming up in about 2 weeks or so, February 8th and 9th of 2025. And if you're watching this after the fact, then I hope you enjoy what we have to demo for you anyways. So the 3 things we'll be going over will be done in a test server. I'm also using a Killingworth test account that we use for demos. And we're going to be going over 2 new methods of creating carousels and also another way that you can manage grids and tables within Evergreen. So one of the ways that you can do it is with item buckets. If you are someone who have created carousels before, you might remember that the only way to make carousels now with the current version of Evergreen before we go to 3.13 is through the record bucket, but now you could do it through item buckets. And it's really just the same look in terms of like where the option is. It's just the only difference is obviously you are opening up an item bucket instead of a record bucket. So I have a shared bucket that I opened up here, and all I have to do is click on buckets and then create carousel from bucket. Once I do that, it's going to ask me to name the carousel, create it, and then I would go through the rest of the steps of the carousel management. If you're someone who's never tried it before and you're interested in learning how to create carousels and manage them, you could submit a help desk ticket and someone will get to you with some instructions on that. So that is one way to do it, is through item buckets. The second way is more so on the fly. And I think it's a really good method, especially if you are scanning a lot of items into item status for displays or anything like that. So I'm in the item status screen, and I have 3 items that are up. One thing I also want to mention, by the way, is that, of course, when you're creating carousels, you might want to put a lot of items in there. It's probably more typical to have at least more than 10, but I'm just only using 3 for each of the examples, just for the sake of time. But in any case, you could still make a carousel through 1 or 2 items if you want to. So I have 3 items that are scanned in here, and if you want to select all of them, you could go ahead and click that checkbox that's above all the itemized items, or you could just select certain ones. And once you have everything selected out, you just right-click and then create carousel from selected items, and the same name of carousel, create carousel prompt comes up. You could also click on actions, and that option is also here too. So again, this is more so for on the fly methods. One other thing I want to mention is that this isn't necessarily like a very new thing in terms of the supplement video, but one thing that we have noted in our documentation and initial webinar is that the carousel management has also become more mainstream. So just want to remind people that if you do have a carousel that's created off of a bucket and you make additions to that bucket, the carousel will automatically refresh and you don't have to manually refresh it anymore in Evergreen version 3.13. All right, so the last one I want to show you is in the staff catalog. And this change, unfortunately, is only for grids that look like this and not so like this. I'll explain that briefly, but let me just show you the new feature, which is just click and drag in columns. So I'm going to click on this age hold protection and move this up a little bit further. And it just basically reorganizes it the way that I would like. So the current way that you would do it now is through the gear option and manage columns. This screen has also changed a little bit, so I would encourage some people to take a look at it if they are very interested in customizing their columns and grids, but it's really not that much different than what's in place right now. But you would have to do the organizing through this view currently instead of clicking and dragging capabilities that we have in 3.13. When you do this, though, I would just like to remind you to save your grid settings if you want this to be a more permanent change rather than temporary. But this click and drag option is available for grids that look like this and not like this. And that is because this is only for pages that are built in Angular. That's the programming language that we call for these types of formatted pages. And not necessarily for like the older versions like this, which eventually will be moved into a view like this at some point, but it probably won't be for another year or two when we move to another major version. But in any case, if you do find other grids within Evergreen, this is, of course, the staff catalog is not one of them. There are definitely in other areas. You're able to go ahead and click and drag with the columns. All right, so that's all I have for you today. Thanks very much for your time. And again, if you have any questions, you could submit a help desk ticket and someone will get back to you.